Hello everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures, and I am doing something I have not gotten to do in quite some time, and that is a weekly painting progress video. Yeah, last time I did one of these was back in May before we went to Japan. We were back in the States for a couple days in July, and then me and my wife went off on a nice anniversary getaway for a few days, but we are finally back for good, firmly in one place and not hopping on any planes anymore. So in between those days when we left and since we've been back, I decided it's finally time to finish up some models, and we got started painting. So without further ado, because we got a lot of them, we are going to start with a couple of lizard men. Why? Because I love me some lizards, and I've been hearing my kid nag me incessantly about wanting a lizard for his birthday, and the only way it's going to happen is he looks at me while he's doing his Japanese work is if he cleans that room and keeps it clean. Yeah, you can smile and get back to work there, buddy. Anyway, so nothing special. I wanted to paint some lizard men up like, what are they called? Mexican alligator lizards for some time now. So this was just kind of a test before I started playing around with a couple of leftover actual lizard men. So I kind of went crazy putting too much flash and pizzazz on these lizards, but they just kind of went overboard. Now, interesting thing with these were done with those contrast paints. They were my first time messing around with it. I gotta say, it did kind of fill in the shading pretty nicely. I mean, these were just slapped together a couple days ago, and well, boom, good enough tabletop quality. And the color's a little bit off compared to the kind of more greenish tone on the bones guys, but that's okay. This first one, here's another one who seems to have some sort of a magic-y weapon. Don't ask me. I think the thought was that they had their, what are those dudes called? Their big magic slaying guys. No more slaying to guide them, so they kind of went off on their own. So here's a berserker style one we made. I don't know why. They're just leftover bits and bobs in our bits box that got slapped on there. I swear there's more. Well, here's one more at least. You think he was supposed to be the leader. He's the most flashy of the bunch. He's got red spikes. He's special. And there's, oh yeah, there is one more. And then there's spiky spikes, because he's got lots of spikes. And I think those came off of the Carnosaur or whatever their Spinosaur version is. I think those are his head crusts. So anyway, they're the beginnings of a Lizardman warband that I spent way too much time cutting things up for. Next up, oh, what are these brothers named? This is a privateer model. I can't think of the name, but as you see, he's going full on Total Recall while the older brother's like, hey, forget about it. But little brother, Klaatu? No, was that his name? I don't know. I haven't seen Total Recall in years, but that's totally what's going on here. Fun little sculpt, and for some reason it really reminds me of like a Rackham sculpt. He's got like a lobster and a fish skeleton and hooks and junk all over him. He's part of their minions faction for hordes, but just a fun little model. Had him for a while. Finally, I just succumbed to getting sick of looking at him. He'd been primed ages ago, like the day I got him, and he sat there for months. Been sitting there for months, even before we went to Japan. All right, what else we got? Oh, here's a random playing around test shot. This is, oh, what is these? One of the hounds from Wrath for the Seven Sins, the others from Cool Mini. A game that sadly I don't think we're ever going to play again, and I'm at the point where I'm probably just going to sell off all the cardboard bits and just keep a bunch of the minis and even sell off some of those. But it makes a cool, like, I don't know, Chaos Hound or something. It's big. Definitely big. All right, what else we got? Random... Are these Knollsers? I don't remember. Anyway, it's a Dragonborn. I like me my dragons. You never see any blue dragon ones. I figured let's do something different. I kind of like the white on the armor. I might try that again with some other ones. I might try that with Angadern. I might get around to painting him for Mirce. Alright, I think there's another dragon. Born, I want to say Draconian. And he totally was inspired by a Draconian when I was painting him. I used to have those old Ralpartha set based on the old Keith Parkinson artwork, and I absolutely love those. I think I had my dad paint most of them, but yeah, the Aurak and the Shivak. Those names will forever be ingrained upon my head, but I kept the paint job really simple. I've had this for a while, and it just sat there, and I started painting it right away, and I just could not figure out what I wanted to do with it. So finally I just gave up. Here is a slop together, oh, what are these dudes called? The Bayou Smugglers, that's it. I am not super happy. It's a very mediocre paint job, and I really bungled it on the face, but I don't care. Actually, I like the color I used for the underbelly, the alligator. His gun's too thin, too. I don't like it. I like the female Bayou Smuggler more anyways, but I haven't gotten around to her yet. Alright, so let's start pushing things back so we can actually fit everything on camera. And remember, I did not just get all this done in 1 week. Some of these were started even before we went to Japan, and it just so happened that I finally got around to finishing them. Some of them I started in between our anniversary and Japan. Some of these I barely started as soon as we got home, and you'll see which ones those were. Alright, something different. A 15mm Oni from Battle Valor Games with a mallet. He's smaller than the frog. He is a 15mm figure after all. What else we got in here? Oh, a random Knoll from Frostgrave from North Star's plastics line. I feel like he needs some spots. He probably does. He probably needs to be in focus better too. I think I got a good, decent color on the fur there. Hard time with that. He's got the black feet at least. He's done. That's the important thing. Okay, let's zoom it out a bit. Alright, what else we got here? Let's see. Oh, here we go. I didn't think I'd actually paint her so soon, but I did. This is the Kingdom Death Samurai variant. It does not want to go in focus because there's too much stuff behind me there. So you can see how badly warped that sword is of hers. And it just did not want to cooperate. I didn't do the greatest paint job, but it's serviceable. I mean, it's no, by Lantern's Light expert model, Patreon type, but whatever. I got her done. And I gotta say, I've gotten quite a few of my Kingdom Death models done. How about you guys? We'll stick her there in focus as we grab some more. Okay, how about this guy? This is the Goat the Lord for the Goat the Knights, which are from the Wrath of Kings, and he's barely, and I mean barely, sitting on this 50mm base. I feel like I need to do more work on him. I feel like he's just barely done. I think he's kind of plain, and I kind of wanted to play around with some of the contrast paints on his cape, and I didn't. But we might revisit that, and I have another one anyway. The second one, I'm kind of thinking I might cut off the pole arm and give it some kind of a Naginata Nodachi type thing. More of like a curved spear blade. I don't know. Like I said, he's really, really big. Like, just massively so. But we're not done either. No, we are not. Alright, what else we got? Well, I have this hero model from Last Sword Miniatures out of Spain. Part of their Elven Lords Kickstarter campaign. Looks like a Dragon Prince. That's what I was thinking of. Very simple paint job. I like the color that I ended up getting for the hair. I think it works. It's not blonde. It's not white. It's that kind of Daenerys Targaryen kind of whitey blonde. I don't know. He came out okay. I still like his pose. I probably should have done something with the spikes on the cloak there, but works. He's an interesting resin. He's kind of rubbery, but surprisingly, I mean, I've been really aggressive with it, and it still hasn't broken, so I like that. Then we have some cave-dwelling savages. These guys are from A Song of Ice and Fire, or whatever the Game of Thrones game is called, and I really like them. I really like them. I think the detail really came out on these guys, and I mean, I did a really basic paint job, but it works. I mean, they're filthy cavemen. That's one of them. Here's another. I'm thinking since you get like 4 of each sculpt, I'm going to probably have the next set all in different colors, and then I think I might do all the skin tones different as well. They can be totally different. Looks like a giant. lurching for. I should get those giants at some point. If you think I should get them, let me know. I need somebody to help it validate me. And here is the leader model. He's the coolest one. He's covered in bones, and he is a nice segue into the new Savage Bone Dwellers or whatever those guys are. Rattle Shirts dudes. Those new models, who I've already started painting. They'll probably be here next week or two, now that I can do a weekly painting progress. Shove all these. It's getting kind of crowded there. And finally, I'm almost done here. Whoa. You can see the Dark Age models sitting there for another video. Ready to get primed. I got the new Cornelius Bass crew box done. So this is one of the Frontiersmen, woman. They're all Malifaux. I tried to follow the colors that they had on the package in the artwork, but that got really difficult really fast because they only have usually from the torso up. That's the first one. Here's our more native looking friend. So these guys I actually had to paint in bits because getting under those poncho cloak things they got going on would have been very challenging otherwise. Fun pose and getting all the bullets underneath there as well. And then my favorite of the bunch, the Irishman. He's even got a whiskey flask on his belt there. I don't know if it's coming through in the video or not, but I did try to actually have the fringes a different color than the rest of their chaps. And he's got little knives tucked away on both sides there. He's just got fabulous, fabulous facial hair. I did paint his eyes, not that you can see. And again, these cloak poncho things they got going on were kind of a pain to get around. And I really didn't do a good job on his white shirt, but whatever, good enough. Alright, shove all you over there into that big unfocused mess. Next up we have, oh darn it, I don't remember her name. Cornelius's daughter. I think the skin tone turned out pretty decent. I mean, I didn't want to be like a racist caricature or anything, and I wanted to be able to have, you know, some shading show up. So I'm happy with how she turned out. She was a pretty simple model anyways. I'm not sure what she has the chain on her waist for, but whatever. I'll put her there. And then there's the big one, Johan or whatever his name is. For some reason, his shirt looked much better, and then after I put the gold coat on him, it looked a lot more atrocious. But he's an interesting sculpt. He's got like that executioner claw. I don't think he's got any kind of a range attack, but I could be wrong. I know he has the stoic nod that him and Cornelius can do towards each other to heal each other on the table, which is kind of cool. He's got a bunch of weird chains and stuff hanging around on his belt, stitches up the sides. I mean, it was a nice little model. He's not really little, but... And finally, we have the man himself, Cornelius Bass. If I can get you in focus, sir, because it's all about the bass. Got the cigarette dangling in his mouth. He did actually paint the face in there. It's going to be very difficult to see. He's got his awesome handlebar facial hair going on as well. There's a lot of detail on this guy. Packed on there for a pretty static, plain, boring pose, but for this dude, it just kind of works, and I really tried to weather up his duster some. Love how he's grabbing the belt buckle. If I knew anything about source lighting, I would have done a better job with that cigarette there in his mouth, but it does the job good enough. And in case you're curious, here's the Wild West Exodus version of a similar model. I mean, they are brothers from another mother. Howdy. Anyway, I painted him a long time ago. But this is probably my favorite of the bunch. He's just, it oozes coolness. And if you ever are in need, I think, of any new Shadows of Brimstone or Tombstone or just, you know, Wild West models in general, I think this new Frontier faction from Malifaux is going to be a godsend. Just these sculpts were really cool. I mean, all of them, each of them have just a lot of fashionable sense and interesting details. going on there. I am very happy with this crew. So hopefully I'll be as happy with the next one I put together. But yeah, getting back to painting, since I did not get to paint for quite some time, you can see I put in a little bit of work there. So if I can manage to do that, and I can manage to at least make them look tabletop ready, if not, you know, they kind of fall apart under closer look, you guys got no excuse. Hopefully you'll be back here next week with me. I will be back on a regular schedule, and we will see more weekly painting progress at Obscurities in Miniatures very soon. I am High Lord Tamberlane, and with that, I will say my goodbyes, because I am hoping to finally get a game in with some of this stuff. We'll see you all later. Bye-bye.